Admiral Kate Morrison walked into the big meeting room where aliens from all over the galaxy sat talking. She looked calm on the outside, but inside she was angry. She had been angry for a long time now. The aliens in the room spoke many different languages, and their words were turned into English by machines. But Kate could tell they all looked down on humans. "We have decided," said Counselor Vextar, a bug-like alien with 4 eyes. "Human ships cannot use the Centauri trade route anymore. Also, humans will not get seats on the Emergency Response Committee. Maybe later, but not now." Commander Jake Sullivan stood next to Kate. His hands turned into fists, but he did not say anything. This was the 5th time in 5 months that the aliens had pushed humans away from important decisions. This made no sense because human ships saved people during emergencies all the time. Human engineers also fixed and maintained half of the important machines in space. A tall crystal alien named Silmoth stood up. She looked proud and spoke in a voice that sounded like music. "Young species like humans need to learn their place. Humans have only been flying in space for 300 years. Some of us have been traveling between stars for thousands of years." The other aliens agreed with her. Snake-like creatures called Kalith moved their heads up and down. Gas-based aliens called Vorthan changed colors to show they were happy. Only the robot aliens stayed quiet and neutral. Kate had heard enough. She stood up slowly. When she moved, the whole room became quiet. When she spoke, her voice was strong and clear. She thought about all the humans who had died saving alien lives. She thought about human engineers who worked day and night to keep alien stations running. She thought about human doctors who had helped alien species they had never seen before. 300 years, she said, and her voice echoed in the big room. In 300 years, we have stopped 17 major disasters that could have destroyed whole sectors of space. We built the life support systems that half of you need to breathe. We created the emergency beacon network that has saved millions of lives from 47 different species. Counselor Vextar made clicking sounds with his mouthparts. He did not seem to care. "Yes, we thank you for your help, but being thankful does not mean you get to make decisions with us." "You are right," Kate said. This surprised everyone. "It does not." She looked around the room one last time. "That is why, starting right now, humanity is leaving all galactic affairs." The room exploded with noise. Aliens shouted in dozens of languages. Their translation machines could not keep up. Kate spoke louder than all of them. "Every human living outside of human space will come home within 6 months. All human workers will leave alien territories. Our emergency ships will return to human space. Our engineers will stop fixing your machines and stations." She stopped talking for a moment to let them understand what this meant. "You wanted us to learn our place. Now we have learned it." Silmoth's crystal body flickered like a broken light. "You cannot just abandon your duties." "We are not abandoning anything," Kate said in a cold voice. "We are giving back the responsibility to those who think they can do better. You have thousands of years of experience after all." The human group walked out of the room. Jake walked close to Kate and whispered, "Admiral, are you sure about this? The economic problems alone will be huge." "That will be their problem, not ours," Kate said. "Send the message to all humans in space. Tell them to come home. It is time we stopped caring more about this galaxy than the galaxy cares about us." Behind them, the aliens panicked as they realized what had just happened. The Vorthon aliens flashed bright colors as they tried to call their home planet. The Kalith were already trying to figure out how fast they could train their own engineers. But it was the robot alien, Unit 7749, who said the words that would come true later. "Error detected. Critical system problems not calculated in current. Plans. Probability of total system failure, 87%. Nobody listened to the robot." The room stayed noisy and chaotic as the aliens argued with each other. Some tried to call Kate back, but she was already gone. The human delegation walked through the long hallways of the station, past alien guards and workers who had no idea that their world was about to change forever. Kate looked at Jake as they reached their ship. "How long do you think it will take them to realize what they have done?" Jake thought for a moment. A few months, maybe less. When the emergency calls start coming in and we are not there to answer them. And by then it will be too late, Kate said. We gave them 300 years to treat us as equals. They chose not to. Now they can live with that choice. As their ship left the station, Kate looked back one last time at the massive structure where galactic decisions were made. She wondered if the aliens inside realized they had just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. They would find out soon enough. The ship jumped into hyperspace, carrying the news that would change everything. Behind them, the aliens continued to argue, not knowing that the backbone of their civilization was about to disappear. In the days that followed, the message went out to every human in alien space. Come home. The galaxy had made its choice, and now humanity would make theirs. The great exodus was about to begin. 6 weeks after the big meeting, Captain Lisa Chen stood looking out the window of her transport ship called New Horizon. She watched as the last human families left Kepler Station. This huge space station had been home to 30,000 humans for many years. These humans had worked hard to make it the biggest trading post in the sector. That is the last shuttle, said Lieutenant Ben Cooper from the ship's control room. All human workers and their families are now on our ships. Chen nodded but felt sad. Around the station, alien workers and bosses watched with worry as important humans disappeared. Dr. Amy Rodriguez had been the chief doctor of the station. Now a crystal alien healer who had never treated many different species at once would replace her. Chief Engineer Paul Mitchell knew everything about the old station's systems. Now a group of snake-like Kalith aliens would try to do his job, using only instruction books. Captain, we are getting a message from station boss Colvex, Cooper said. A bug-like alien appeared on their screen. His many eyes showed he was scared. Captain Chen, surely we can make a deal. Dr. Rodriguez has been very important to our medical center, and Engineer Mitchell is not your problem anymore, Chen said, cutting him off. All humans are going back to human space as ordered. I am sure your people will learn to manage. But the emergency medical rules, the life support changes for different alien atmospheres, are all written down in the files we are giving to your computers, Chen said. But she knew that written instructions were not the same as real experience. Good luck, boss. The call ended. Chen turned back to watch Kepler Station get smaller as they flew away. Already, she could see problems starting. Docking Bay 7 was closed because of an air leak. Mitchell could have fixed this in 5 minutes, but the Kalith had been trying for 3 days and still could not figure it out. The medical wing was working with fewer patients because of a quarantine mistake that Rodriguez would never have made. All across the galaxy, the same thing was happening everywhere. On the mining planet Xerion Prime, human rock experts packed their tools while the local Garathi aliens tried to keep the mining work going. The safety rules that humans had made to prevent cave-ins for many years were replaced with older, less safe methods. In the Vega star system, the Deep Space Watching Station went dark when its human workers left. This station had been watching for dangerous asteroids and helping with rescue missions across 12 sectors of space. The replacement team of crystal and gas aliens had no idea how to use the station's prediction systems. Commander Rick Torres was packing his things at the research station on New Geneva when he got a desperate call from his Kalith partner, researcher, Thesika. The quantum chamber is acting strange and dangerous. Thesika's translated voice sounded panicked. Your written instructions list 17 possible problems, but we do not have the real experience to find the right one quickly. Torres stopped packing for a moment. The quantum chamber was the most important part of their dark matter research. If it broke badly, it could destroy half the continent. 6 months ago, he would have run to help immediately. Now, he just said, I have put all my diagnostic files in your computer system. You will figure it out. But Commander, the safety of 12,000 researchers is not my job anymore, Torres said firmly. You made that clear when you voted to keep humans off the station's ruling board. As human ships left system after system, a pattern became clear that none of the celebrating alien governments had expected. Humans had not just been workers or advisors. They had been the glue that held galactic civilization together. They were the ones who learned alien languages to help species talk to each other, even species that had been enemies for thousands of years. They were the fixers who solved problems that others could not even see. On planet Thesia 7, the water cleaning system started failing 2 weeks after the human technicians left. Humans had designed these plants to handle the special needs of 7 different alien species, all using the same water supply. The replacement team of specialists could not figure out why their book learning approach was not working. The truth was simple, but none of the alien bosses wanted to admit it. Humans were problem solvers in a way that other species were not. Where other species saw impossible complications, humans saw puzzles that could be solved. Where others accepted that certain species could not work together, humans found ways to make it happen. Ship Captain Nina Foster was leading the evacuation fleet from the Arcturus sector when she got her final message from the sector government. Her ships were getting ready to jump into hyperspace. Captain Foster, the sector council wants to say thank you for human help with keeping our region stable. Perhaps in the future, we might talk about limited human involvement in— No, Foster said, cutting them off. You had 300 years to treat us as equals. You chose not to. Live with that choice. As the human fleet disappeared into hyperspace, leaving the Arcturus sector to rule itself for the first time in 200 years, the celebration among the alien people was already starting to feel empty. The galaxy was getting what it wanted. Now it would have to deal with what that really meant. On every world where humans had lived and worked, the same story played out. Alien replacements tried to do human jobs, but found it much harder than they expected. Systems that had worked smoothly for years started breaking down. Trade routes that had never had problems began having accidents and delays. The aliens had thought humans were just another species, maybe more energetic than most, but easy to replace. They never realized that human civilization was what kept galactic society working. In the medical centers, alien doctors struggled to treat patients from many different species. Human doctors had known how to help everyone, but each alien species only knew how to help their own kind. In the engineering stations, alien workers followed instruction books exactly, but could not solve new problems. Human engineers had been creative and found solutions that were not written down anywhere. In the communication centers, translation became much harder without humans who had learned to speak many alien languages fluently. Messages between different species became confused and often led to misunderstandings. The exodus continued for months. Every day, more human ships left alien space, taking with them knowledge and skills that could not be easily replaced. The aliens had wanted to be free of human interference, but they were learning that what they called interference was actually help they desperately needed. As the last human evacuation ships prepared to leave known space entirely, many aliens began to wonder if they had made a terrible mistake. But it was too late now. The humans were going home, and the galaxy would have to learn to survive without them. The celebration was over. The real test was just beginning. 3 months after all the humans left, emergency boss Zathara stood in his control center watching his galaxy map light up with danger signals like deadly stars. Red warning lights blinked from 17 different star systems. Yellow warning. Lights covered twice that many places. His rescue teams were spread too thin and could not handle all the problems. Sir, we have another big problem on Helios Station, said his helper, Krixvan. The air-making machines are breaking down and 40,000 people are in danger. Zathara felt frustrated and scared. Before the humans left, this would have been an easy emergency to handle. A human quick response team would have reached the station in a few hours. Their engineers would have found the problem fast, and their doctors would have taken care of any hurt people. Now his best team was already busy with the reactor crisis on Delphi Prime. His second best team was still trying to figure out why the life support systems on Gamma Station kept turning off by themselves. What about the Crystal Alien Engineering Group? They have been working on it for 6 days, Krixvan said sadly. They keep saying the instruction files are not complete. That important knowledge was never written down. That was the real problem, Zathara realized. Humans did not just follow rules and procedures. They made things up as they went, adapted to new situations, and found solutions that were not in any book. They looked at a problem and somehow knew what was wrong, even when dealing with machines they had not built. His communicator made a sound with another emergency. Captain Stone of the robot aliens appeared on screen. The robot's light sensors flickered with what counted as worry for his kind. Boss Zethara, we need immediate help with the Nexus Array problem in Sector 47. The Nexus Array. Zethara felt his blood turn cold. The massive communication system was critical for coordinating emergency help across a dozen sectors of space. If it failed completely, they would be working blind across a quarter of known space. What kind of problem is it? Unknown. The array is having cascade failures in parts that human engineers changed over the past 100 years. The changes are not in the original plans. Without the original human engineers to explain the changes, Captain Stone did not need to finish his sentence. The changes had probably been made to solve problems that came up over many years of use. Each change was a small improvement that kept the ancient system running smoothly. Now those undocumented changes were becoming failure points that nobody understood. I will see what teams I can send, Zethara lied, knowing he had no teams available. When the call ended, his helper came over with another report. Sir, I have been looking at the emergency response numbers from the past 3 months. And response times are up 400%. Success rates are down 60%. Death rates in solved emergencies are up 200%. Krixvan stopped talking for a moment. Sir, we are not just less efficient than before. We are actually making things worse. Zethara brought up the sector-wide statistics on his main screen. The numbers were terrible. Systems that had worked smoothly for many years were breaking down. Trade routes that had operated without problems were having accidents and delays. Research stations that had made breakthrough discoveries were struggling with basic operations. On Kepler Station, Boss Kolvex was facing a complete breakdown of all systems. The air recycling system had developed a shaking problem that human engineers had somehow fixed with a series of small adjustments over the years. Without those adjustments, the system was slowly shaking itself to pieces. His K-Leith engineering team had been working day and night for 2 months and still could not figure out how the humans had made it work. Meanwhile, in the Vega system, the abandoned Deep Space Watching Station had been offline for 3 weeks. After its crystal alien replacement team accidentally caused a shutdown they could not fix. In that time, 2 asteroid impacts had happened that would have been prevented by the early warning system. Luckily, they had hit empty worlds. Next time, they might not be so lucky. Dr. Silmoth, the crystal alien who had been so dismissive of human help, found herself in an emergency meeting with the Galactic Council. Her crystal body flickered with barely controlled panic. The situation is becoming impossible to handle, she reported. We are seeing cascade failures across multiple sectors. Infrastructure systems are breaking down faster than we can repair them. Emergency response times have tripled. The economic impact alone. What about our own species' knowledge? Interrupted Counselor Vextar. Surely we can adapt and learn. That is just the problem, Silmoth replied. We cannot. The humans were not just operating our systems. They were improving them, constantly adapting them to handle problems we did not even know existed. They were solving compatibility issues between different species' technologies, finding ways to make systems work together that should not have been possible. She pointed to the holographic display showing system failures across known space. Look at the Centauri trade route that we were so eager to exclude them from. Transit times are up 40% because the traffic coordination algorithms they developed are failing without their constant adjustments. The Garathi mining operations that we thought we could manage ourselves are down 30% efficiency because we cannot copy their safety and extraction protocols. In the Thesia system, the water crisis had reached dangerous levels. The purification plants designed by humans to handle 7 different species' biological needs at the same time had been failing steadily. The replacement systems designed by individual species worked fine for their own people, but created poisonous byproducts for others. What had been an elegant solution to multi-species living together had become a nightmare of competing requirements. Unit 7749 of the robot aliens submitted its analysis to the Council with typical bluntness. Human withdrawal has created critical system dependencies that were not apparent during normal operations. Humans functioned as essential adaptive elements in galactic infrastructure. Their removal has started cascade failures that threaten civilization-level collapse within 18 months. The chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. They had thought of humans as just another species, perhaps more energetic and innovative than most, but ultimately replaceable. They had never realized that human civilization was the glue holding galactic society together. "We need to contact them," Vextar said finally. "Open talks for their return." Silmoth's form flickered with something that might have been embarrassment. "We have tried. They are not responding to our communications." "What do you mean, not responding?" "I mean, they have established a complete communications blackout with all non-human space. Our diplomatic channels have been ignored for 6 weeks. As far as humanity is concerned, the galaxy no longer exists." The council chamber erupted in panic as delegates realized the full scope of their problem. They needed the humans back, but the humans had moved on, and somewhere beyond the galactic rim in systems no alien species had ever imagined, humanity was building something magnificent. Admiral Kate Morrison stood on the observation deck of her flagship Independence, watching the construction of humanity's new megastation in the unexplored Kepler 442 system. The massive structure was bigger than anything in known space. Its rotating sections were designed to house millions of humans and serve as the center of their new civilization beyond the galaxy. "Admiral, we are getting another priority message from the Galactic Council," said Captain Danny Walsh, her aide. "That is the 47th one this week." Morrison did not look away from the spectacular view of their new home. "Same answer as always, Captain. We are not interested. They are offering complete human control in 12 sectors, full council representation, and exclusive rights to—" "Danny," Morrison interrupted gently. "Look out there. What do you see?" Walsh joined her at the window. Beyond the construction of their new station, human exploration fleets were mapping star systems that had never known alien contact. Science vessels were making discoveries that would have been impossible under the restrictive research rules of galactic society. Colony ships were establishing settlements designed entirely around human needs and human dreams. "I see freedom," Walsh said quietly. "Exactly. We spent 300 years trying to fit into their galaxy, following their rules, accepting their limitations. Out here, we are not the junior species begging for scraps. We are pioneers again." The irony was not lost on Morrison. In trying to put humanity in its place, the galaxy had freed them to find their true potential. The last 8 months had seen advances in human technology, exploration, and society that might have taken decades under the old system. Dr. Tony Martinez, their chief science officer, approached with his daily report. "Admiral, the quantum tunneling experiments are exceeding all projections. Without the Galactic Research Ethics Committee limiting our methods, we have achieved stable wormhole generation. We could have transportation networks that make galactic hyperspace routes look like walking paths. And the terraforming projects? Proceeding ahead of schedule. The atmospheric processors we developed for alien worlds work even better when we only have to accommodate human physiology. We will have 7 new garden worlds online within 2 years." Morrison nodded with satisfaction. They had been held back for so long by the need to accommodate other species' limitations and prejudices. Now, freed from those constraints, human innovation was accelerating at an exponential rate. Her communicator chimed with an urgent message from their long-range monitoring station. Commander Sarah Blake appeared on screen, her expression grim. "Admiral, you need to see the latest intelligence reports from galactic space. It is worse than we projected." The holographic display showed a galaxy in chaos. Entire sectors were going dark as infrastructure failures cascaded beyond anyone's ability to repair. The Garathi mining worlds had suffered 3 major cave-ins in the past month. The Centauri trade route had been closed indefinitely after a series of collision events that the traffic control systems could not prevent. Kepler Station had been evacuated after total atmospheric system failure. "Casualties?" Morrison asked. "Estimated in the millions and climbing. The Thessia water crisis alone has displaced 200,000 refugees. The failure of the Deep Space Monitoring Network has resulted in 6 asteroid impacts on inhabited worlds." Morrison felt a pang of something. Not quite regret, but acknowledgement of tragedy. These were not numbers on a screen. They were people suffering because their leaders had been too proud to value human contributions. Any change in their diplomatic stance? Blake shook her head. If anything, they are getting more desperate. The latest message from Counselor Vexitar was begging, essentially. Complete human autonomy, reparations for past treatment, permanent, seats on all governing bodies. They are offering us everything they should have given us from the beginning. Too little, too late, Walsh muttered. Morrison was quiet for a long moment, watching construction robots assemble another section of their new world. What is our population status? 800 million humans now living in extragalactic space, Martinez reported. Birth rates are up, emigration from galactic space continues, and morale is at historic highs. We are not just surviving out. Here, Admiral, we are thriving. That was the real tragedy, Morrison reflected. The galaxy could have had this human renaissance as part of their civilization. Instead, their prejudice had driven humanity to build something better without them. The communicator chimed again. This time it was not an official diplomatic channel, but a private message that had somehow found its way through their communication. Blackout. The face that appeared was aged and worn. Dr. Kethvar, a crystal alien researcher who had worked closely with human teams for decades. Admiral Morrison, I do not know if you will receive this, but I had to try. The situation here is beyond description. We thought we understood what humans contributed to our civilization, but we were wrong. You were not just workers or engineers or doctors. You were the problem solvers. You were the ones who made impossible things work. His crystal form flickered with desperation. The quantum resonance chamber on New Geneva destabilized yesterday. 12,000 researchers evacuated. The facility your Commander Torres helped build over 15 years. It is gone. We followed every protocol, every procedure, but we could not handle the cascade failure the way he would have. Morrison felt that pang again, stronger this time. She had known Torres. He was a good man who had dedicated his career to advancing. Multi-species science, Kethvar continued. I am not asking you to return to the old system. We know we do not deserve that. But perhaps some of your people might consider helping as equals this time. Real equals. We have worlds dying, Admiral. Millions of innocent people paying for their leaders' mistakes. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence. Morrison looked around at her officers, seeing her own conflict reflected in their faces. They had found freedom and prosperity beyond the galaxy, but their former neighbors were suffering catastrophic collapse. What are your thoughts? Morrison asked. Walsh spoke first. They made their choice. They had centuries to treat us as equals. Martinez was more conflicted. But the people suffering now are not necessarily the ones who made those decisions. And some of them, like Dr. Kethvar, were always fair to us. Morrison walked to the large tactical display showing both their new extragalactic territories and the failing systems of known space. The contrast was stark. One side showed expanding human civilization reaching toward distant galaxies, while the other showed the slow-motion collapse of the society that had rejected them. Here is what we are going to do, she said finally. We continue building our new civilization, non-negotiable. This is our future, and we are not giving it up. She paused, looking at the failing systems display. But we are also going to offer limited humanitarian assistance, not as subjects returning to the fold, but as a sovereign nation helping neighbors in crisis. Emergency response only, short-term, interventions, and only where lives are at immediate risk. Admiral, Walsh started to object. We will not abandon who we have become, Morrison continued, but we also will not abandon who we have always been. Humans help people in crisis. It is what we do. She turned back to the viewport where their new megastation continued growing against the backdrop of unexplored space. The galaxy had their chance to have us as equals. They chose otherwise. Now they can learn to have us as neighbors, or not at all. The message sent to the Galactic Council was brief. Humanitarian assistance available for life-threatening emergencies only. All requests must acknowledge human sovereignty and extragalactic territorial claims. Long-term reconstruction is your responsibility. We have galaxies to explore. It was not the return the aliens had hoped for, but it was more than their past behavior deserved. As the first human aid ship prepared to depart for Thesia 7's water crisis, Morrison reflected on the strange turn of events. The galaxy had tried to teach humanity its place and had instead learned its own. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is the freedom to become more than you ever imagined they could be. Humanity had taken that gift and run with it, all the way to the stars.